You scared, frightened rabbits, you. You're sick people, do you know that? You're sick people, all of you. And you don't even know what you're starting here, because let me tell you, you're starting something here that's what you should be frightened of. As God is my witness, you're letting something begin here that's a nightmare.
So before we start, what's your name, sir?
Dave.
You got
Dave.
Dave. Nice to meet you, Dave. How would you describe your politics?
I'm an anarchist.
Right. So you're what? Would you agree that that's a form of communism?
No.
Why not?
Because I don't believe in equality of distribution necessarily. I believe that market systems can be an equal form of distribution.
Really, that's very interesting. How could they be in equal form if they're done individually?
Well, for instance, you might have somebody who's living on a relatively
Do you mind if I put my
geographically remote
glasses on?
place.
Sorry, I don't mean to be rude, but I've got the sun right
It's
now.
all the same, I'm wearing some. Yeah, you could have someone who's living in a geographically remote place. Doesn't make any sense for them to have their products taken off them in order to be distributed totally equally. As long as the fundamental principle is that people have to have enough to live, and that society is, capable and welcome to redistribute when it's clearly, unfair, then I don't see that there's anything wrong with the market system.
How can anarchy facilitate that, though?
Well, anarchism is just the principle that people have the right to do what they want to do, providing it doesn't hurt other people.
That sounds like liberalism to me.
It might to you, it's an extreme form of liberalism, some have said, but that's not how I interpret it.
Well, no, that's an interesting way of putting it, an extreme form of liberalism, because I think the main drive behind liberalism is to give the individual self-determination. I think that's what you're saying.
The individual has self-determination, yeah.
Yeah, but the question is then, how do you maintain law and order?
By social organisation. I mean, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. If someone commits a crime, then you have to act to deal with that in a positive way. I mean, it's not necessarily about imprisoning people. You have to recognise that if someone's hurting someone else, it's probably because they're ill.
But wouldn't you need like a police force to investigate that sort of thing?
You might have a community-based force that would do that sort of role. It would have to be elected by the whole of the population.
But I think that's actually how we run our police forces
in
local areas.
No, it's
well,
it's
are
actually not.
the police
They're not elected, are they?
Well, no, they train. They go and train to become one.
That's not relevant to how they're like picked. That's not relevant.
Well, no, it's volunteers.
Yeah, that's still not relevant though. I mean, I'm talking about election.
Yeah,
I'm talking about basing it on what people want.
Would the people standing also not be volunteers?
Yeah, they would have to be volunteers, of course.
So the only real difference I can see here is that you'd like an election on anyone who was volunteering to become a policeman.
Well, a consensus principle,
I'm
but this is a very specific point.
Yeah, no. But the thing is, I'm not saying it doesn't need to be discussed, because I think there might be merit to that. Because I agree with you that there are definitely some policemen who are doing it for the power and not for the responsibility
Power corrupts.
to the community.
Absolute power corrupts. Absolutely.
Absolutely, Lord Acton was completely correct. And so it's one of those things where
that
I
wasn't
agree
Lord
that
Acton, but
sorry?
That's not Lord Acton.
It is
it's
Lord
close
Acton.
to Lord Acton, but it's not Lord Acton.
Well,
Lord
he said
Acton
power
said
corrupts and
power has a tendency to corrupt. Is the
that
Lord
tendency,
Acton quote,
Sorry, good correction. But I do agree with you that there's definitely a need for accountability, and I do think that's actually really interesting. Voting for the volunteers, as in like
speaking about accountability, what makes it okay for you to say the things that you've said when it comes to normalising rape?
My free speech as an Englishman.
I don't think that. What about accountability for your free speech as an Englishman?
You are right here holding me accountable.
Yes, I am. And
yeah.
the rest of the anti-fascist protesters here are also, and that's because they don't want to hear those things.
Protesters.
No, the anti-fascist protesters.
They seem kind of fascist, though.
No, they're anti-fascist
because
you're a fascist. No, free speech, if it hurts someone, has to be restricted to a certain extent.
So you want to restrict free speech?
If it hurts someone,
yeah.
Yes.
But what hurt has been done?
Well, you're normalising rape.
How in anarchy are you going to restrict free speech?
By a community organisation.
So bullying?
No,
mob rule?
No, not mob rule. It would have to be organised on a consensus basis, so everybody would have to be involved. Self-government. Community self-government.
The government is made up of citizens of this country.
No, well, it's not, though, is it? It's made up of rich people educated in Eton and Harrow.
Yeah, but they're still citizens of this country.
That's maybe. That's not really relevant to the point, is it?
Well, yeah, because what you're describing is you need a government to make anarchy work.
A government which is controlled by the people and organised by the people.
Well, now that's interesting.
Everyone, all the people, not just a small minority of voters, as most of the things that you support. For instance, the Leave vote. Well, for instance, the Leave vote. It was a very small minority. It was a very small majority and a minority of the population. Out of all the voters, you've got a majority of the voters. That doesn't mean it should be pushed through. Democracy means the voice of the people.
Yeah, but that's
it's not the voice of the people.
in action.
The voice of a very small majority of voters
Yeah,
and a minority of the population.
Are
So
people
that's
allowed
not
to
the voice.
abstain from voting?
Of course, they're allowed to abstain
So
from
what's
voting.
wrong with that?
It's the dictatorship of majority rule.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
And as we can
Yeah,
see,
that's-
that the
yeah,
election,
that's-
the
that's why
referendum
we
was
have
incredibly badly
constitutionalism.
written. Constitutionalism. We don't actually have constitutionalism. We don't have a constitution
We
in this
have a
country.
historic constitution.
We have the Magna Carta, but it's not actually a constitution in this country. It's not legally binding.
Magna Carta isn't part of UK
We
law.
don't-
now.
we don't have a constitution.
We had Bill of Rights in 1689. Like, do you not know any of this stuff?
I don't know. You may know something that I don't know. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but we have a long historic tradition of
It's not
constitutionalism. We actually invented the idea.
The point is that that's not relevant. All you've done is taken this off to a different point.
No,
With
but I think that is
constitutionalism, it's not relevant. No, it's not
Well,
relevant.
that's how we keep governments accountable. That's how
No,
we keep them from
well,
becoming
they're not
tyrannical.
accountable, though. They've pushed
Well-
through various things over the last 20 years. The Iraq War,
I agree.
austerity, universal credit. They've pushed through
Yeah.
many things that were opposed by the majority of the
I agree.
population. So they're not accountable
Can
at
we
all.
get Tony Blair in jail?
I would very much like to see
Wouldn't
Tony
that
Blair in
be
jail. I'd
great,
also
right?
like to see Theresa May in jail. I'd
Yeah,
also think
come
that
on.
you should
Come on,
be in
let's go
fucking
round of
jail.
applause.
I also think you
Oh,
should be in
calm down.
jail.
No, why? Why should I be in
You
jail?
have normalised rape.
No, I haven't.
Yeah,
Who
you have,
thinks
and you
rape
used a
is
racial
normal?
slur
Who thinks
and
rape
refused
is
to
normal?
apologise for it. A racial
I'm
slur
not
which is
gonna
rooted in
apologise.
slavery.
I'm not going to apologise for being naughty to
You-
Nazis. To hell with them. Why are you defending them?
You're a joke.
Why were you defending
You are
the Nazis?
absolutely a joke.
I
You
was
are
insulting
supporting
Nazis.
Nazis. The UKIP party has close relationships with the far right.
No, they don't.
Yes,
They're
they
the
do.
only party in the country that prevent the far right from joining. Yes, really.
No, the Anarchist Party is the only party in the country that should stop
The
far
Anarchist
right from
Party isn't
joining.
fit for government because they hate government.
No, we don't hate government.
Of
We
course
are in favour of community
Yeah,
self-organisation.
but it's not going to happen, is it? Let's be honest.
Well, that's your opinion.
Well,
That's
you can't
your
make
opinion.
it
Why do you
happen.
think it's not going to happen?
Because I think that the government will stop you from what I guess would sound like a revolt.
Well, I think if everybody is in favour of something, and I think if everybody opposes the government, which it seems that they're getting very close to doing, then I think that, yeah, revolution is possible.
Well, what do you do with the people who oppose the revolution?
Well, they have to, I mean, depending
have
on
to be shot?
No, it depends on the circumstances.
You've
I
got a
would
machine gun on your top.
Yeah, it's tongue-in-cheek. It's tongue-in-cheek.
Oh, it's a joke when you do it, but not when I do it.
Well... No, they're culling the badges.
It's okay when you do it. This is the problem that we have with you.
Fucking Parliament. Let's have a wait a minute. If you ask me, if you ask me the question, the simple answer is that since they're culling badges and they're killing a lot of people, the point is to make the point that the rich people are the people who are causing that and who are pursuing that. And if you're going to cull anyone, probably better to cull the rich than the badges because they're
I
the
don't
real
think-
issue.
I don't think we
I'm
should
not
shoot
in favour
anyone.
of genocide. No, I'm not.
Oh,
in favour
you're
of
not in
genocide.
favour of genocide.
No,
How brave.
I would never be in favour of the state of supporting state violence.
So, but what are we going to do about the rich then?
Well, the rich need to have their money redistributed.
But that's going to involve state violence.
Not necessarily.
What do you mean? You think they're going to? You think
Community
they're just going to give it away?
Community
hang on, mate.
self-organisation.
Hang on. Come on.
Community self-organisation. If you have a
but they're
vast
not-
mass of people, look at the 1990s. Look at Eastern
They're
Europe.
not just
If you have a
gonna give
vast
their
mass of
property
people, you
away.
can have a velvet revolution and you can redistribute money.
They're not just going to give their property away. You're going to have to take it by force.
If they, obviously, if there's a case of self-defense, then there's a case of self-defense. But
Yeah, but
no,
they'll
I
be
would never
defending themselves
justify-
from people trying to steal their stuff.
It's not their stuff. It's not
It
their
is.
property.
Of course
no,
it
all
is.
property is theft.
Right. I disagree. I'm not an anarchist.
Fuck off.
You don't have a job, do you?
I do have a job actually.
Oh,
I've
where'd
got
you
2
work?
0-hours contracts.
Oh, that sucks.
It's pretty crap.
Yeah, no, that sounds awful. I actually really hate the 0-hour contract thing. I hate what the Tories are doing
Yeah,
to
I'm
this country.
sure you do.
Of course I do. I'm not a Tory.
No, you're a UKIP supporter.
I-
You're
yeah.
a UKIP MEP.
Well, I'm a candidate, but thank you for thinking I'll win.
Candidate.
But that doesn't mean I'm a Tory. I'm obviously not a Tory. No, seriously, look, I've
Do you
worked...
have any policies?
Yes, loads.
Would you like to tell me one?
I'd like to leave the European Union.
You'd like to leave the... And
Yeah.
what else?
I'd like free speech in this country. I'd like to erase group rights in this country as well.
Erase group rights. What does that
Yes.
mean exactly?
It means politicizing people whether they like it or not.
And what exactly
Just like
are
you're
you
doing
doing?
with the people who are abstaining from the vote, in fact. Because to say that, like, 17.4 million out of the 30 or 36 million who voted, you're saying, well, what about the people who didn't vote? Well, they chose not to become political. They chose that. You don't have a say over them. They have a say over them.
But I do have a say on how... Well, I don't even actually have a say on how democracy is organised in this country, but I believe that we should have a say on how democracy is organised in this country, and I don't believe that majority, a very slim majority, is one that should be pushed through, especially
Why?
when the referendum was so incredibly badly worded. I
Well-
believe we should have another vote.
What do you like about the European Union?
Don't particularly like the European Union. It's somewhat left-wing, more left-wing than the UK. But
It's neoliberal.
I don't favour any state.
Yeah, well,
Or any association of states.
Why would you not want to reduce the size of states in principle, though?
Well, because the Parliament, the power that we have in this country is associated in a much smaller group of rich people than it is in the EU. But I mean,
yeah, but no,
I'm not
it's
particularly in favour. I mean,
very
you've
in
shifted to
favour of
something where
rich
you feel
people
that
in the
you
EU.
have a strong basis of support. But the fact of the matter is, I'm not even particularly pro or anti, anti the EU. I didn't vote in the referendum myself.
If I was an anarchist, I would think the EU was the worst thing that could happen to this country because it's an increasingly big state. They want to create a super
But it
state
is also decentralised, more
No, it's
decentralised
not.
than the
It's
state that we have in this
incredibly
country.
centralised.
No, it's not.
It is. It's I've been there. It's really
Well,
centralised.
when you
And
have
they create-
every
no, listen.
nation in the association has a veto over a decision, that sounds like decentralisation to me.
No, that's the opposite. Decentralisation would be each nation being autonomous and making their own decisions. Like I would like devolution from London.
If a decision affects the whole of the union, then every person in that union should have a right to decide on it.
Yeah, but they don't.
No.
You
but
don't
the-
even get
but
to
the
vote for the
nations
people
do.
who
But
decide
the
on it.
nations do.
You
Well,
don't.
That's an aspect of a
You've
equally
got even
undemocratic
less
system that we
control
have in this
within the
country as well as
European
those
Union.
countries.
Yeah, but you've got less control within the European Union. I mean, wouldn't it be
I
better?
don't really agree, personally, but there you go. That's your opinion.
What control do you have over the European Commission?
I mean, I could vote for an MEP.
Yeah, but the MEPs, listen, the MEPs can't propose or repeal legislation.
All you're doing is
No.
shifting this onto debate about the EU, and the fact
Yeah, well,
of the matter
I
is, I
asked you
don't
about
actually
the
care
EU.
about the EU. What my opinion
Well, then
is
why are
I'm
you
in favour of
against Brexit?
total democracy, like total anarchist, self-organised democracy.
Okay, but
so that means that everybody gets a right to a decision, and everybody gets a right
Yeah.
to a veto over a decision that affects them. They have the right to control their own lives.
Then
That's
nothing
what
will
I'm in
happen.
favour of.
Then
well,
nothing will
that's
happen.
your opinion.
Yeah,
and
well, if
that
every
doesn't
single
surprise
person
me
could
that you have that
veto-
opinion, because you are a white dominant man who's in
I?
favour of sexism,
Am I a white
racism,
dominant man?
and fascism.
You
Yeah,
seem to be a white
absolutely are.
supremacist, sir.
I'm not a white supremacist.
You seem to
in
think that
any
white
way,
people are
shape,
better than
being a
non-white
form.
people. Why is that?
What would make you think that?
Because you're calling me a white dominant man. You don't know anything about me. I'm not
we have a
dominant
system
over
in this
anything.
we have a system in this country which intentionally favours white dominant men.
No, we don't.
Yes, we do.
No, we don't.
Yes, we do.
How does Sajid Javid end up being an important person in the Conservatives?
Because he's really fucking right wing.
Because he's a white man, right?
No, because he's a really right wing
Yeah.
bastard.
So it's not about race, is it? Then it's about
sometimes
politics.
it's about race.
No, it's not. It's
we have a
about politics.
structurally racist system.
How's Gina Miller a pro-Remain campaigner?
you can't cherry pick examples and use that to disprove the point.
You can't say that this is a white supremacist system if there are non-white people
I didn't
doing
actually
well.
say it was a white supremacist
Oh, well, sorry,
system. I
that
said
was
it was
the
a structurally
implication, I
racist system.
Well, I don't agree with that either.
Well, you may not disagree.
How
with it,
how
you
is
may
it
not agree
structurally
with it.
racist?
It's structurally racist, and so oh for fuck's sake, this is bullshit.
You can't explain it.
Everybody
You
knows
can't
this guy's
explain
a prick.
it. You can't
Everybody
explain
knows
it.
You're a prick, mate.
Everyone knows.
Because
That's
you're
just
normalising
an
rape.
argument
Because
for
you said that
popularity.
you said that you were
That's just
great
an argument
under pressure.
You're
and-
getting angry because you don't understand the things you're talking about.
No, like I'm getting angry because I'm being drawn into a debate which is becoming increasingly elitist. So people can't
No, you
understand what we're
don't- now
talking
we're
about,
making
and you just keep
excuses.
changing
You
the
don't know what
subject.
you're talking about,
the
sir.
important point is that people have to understand
You're getting
that
angry
you.
because you don't know what you're talking about.
I'm not angry.
You're
in that
very angry.
sense. No, I'm not.
You are very angry because you don't know what
As
you're talking
dumb as you
about.
like.
The European
I do
Union is
know
awful.
exactly
It's the antithesis
Change
of
it,
anarchy.
change it to a subject, that you think
European
you've got
Union
control
is the
over. Change it
antithesis-
to a subject you think you've got
Well,
control
what
over.
do you
Go
want
on.
to talk about? You got nothing.
Should we talk about your rape? What you said about rape?
Yeah,
that
it's
you
a
would
joke.
you would cave under pressure.
Yeah, it's a joke.
You would cave under pressure.
It's
So
a
you
joke.
could be a rapist in
No
some
one's got that much
circumstances,
beer.
could you?
Yeah. What about your joke? Your joke's okay, but my joke's not.
My joke is about raising awareness of the fact that the rich
joke's
oppress
about
us.
murder.
Your joke was about normalising rape.
Murder
and
is
saying
worse
that
than
rape
rape.
was okay.
Your joke's about normalising murder.
We already have murder in this country.
We already have
people
rape.
die all the time in
So?
this country. We have
So?
thousands of people under
Yeah.
a system and universal credit who are being oppressed day by day. People committing suicide because they've got no money left. That's the reality. We
you
already
think
have
it's
murder
okay
in
to
this
joke
country.
about murder?
No, I think it's okay. I think it's important to raise
So
it
it's
as
not
a debate.
okay to joke about murder.
I think it's important to
It's not okay to joke about murder.
Yeah, you got to admit there are some holes in your theory here.
My joke is about raising awareness of the fact that the rich
joke's
oppress
about
us.
murder.
Your joke was about normalising rape.
Murder
and
is
saying
worse
that
than
rape
rape.
was okay.
Your joke's about normalising murder.
We already have murder in this country.
We already have
people
rape.
die all the time in
So?
this country. We have
So?
thousands of people under
Yeah.
a system and universal credit who are being oppressed day by day. People committing suicide because they've got no money left. That's the reality. We
you
already
think
have
it's
murder
okay
in
to
this
joke
country.
about murder?
No, I think it's okay. I think it's important to raise
So
it
it's
as
not
a
okay
debate.
to joke about murder.
I think it's important to.
It's not okay to joke about murder.
It's
But you're
not-
doing it on your shirt now.
No, it's raising the debate about murder.
Well, what? Maybe I was raising
We
a debate
already
about
ha-
rape. Yeah, that's an important thing, don't you think? It's the biggest killer of men under 45, but are men oppressing women?
I believe that men are oppressed just as women are oppressed. Men are maybe more oppressed, in my opinion.
So
but
is
it's
it
certainly
not fair to want to have a debate about why men commit suicide so much? Because they do.
Of course it's fair, but you've changed the subject away from what you said, which was to normalise.
No,
You
I
said
don't-
that you
I
could be a
don't-
rapist in some
But you're
circumstances,
normalising
didn't you?
murder.
No, look, it's
That's
not
the
me.
same thing.
It's not me.
It's a
It's
joke.
a badger.
Yeah,
It's
but
not me. It's a
yeah,
badger.
but
You
I
said
was
that
just
you would
telling a
commit
joke.
rape under some
No, I didn't.
circumstances.
No,
Yes,
I
you
didn't.
did.
It
You
was
said
a
if there was
joke.
enough pressure, you would cave.
It
You
was
would
a
commit
joke.
rape.
Are you pressuring me to cave?
I beg your pardon?
Are you pressuring me to cave right
No,
now?
of course I'm not so pressuring
But
you
the
to
thing is,
cave.
I was obviously making a joke, because you're obviously making a joke. Why are you taking a joke so seriously?
It's
a
not.
joke,
It's
not
not
a
obviously
dick. Don't
making a
take it
joke.
to heart.
No, it's not actually making a
Of course
joke.
it's a
It's
joke.
not funny. It's not
It
funny
is
to people
funny.
who are victims of this
I think
shit.
it's funny.
It's not funny.
But I think it's funny.
Well, I don't actually.
Because
yeah, what
I'm a
gives you the
free
right-
man, that's why. And he's a free man. He doesn't have to like it, yeah. But I don't have to care whether he likes my jokes or not. I mean, I don't like his joke, but he doesn't have to care about that. Thank you very much for having the discussion. I very much appreciate it.
We're going around the neighborhood to make sure that all the households aren't in any violations of our compliance items of the state of California. We go around and make sure that your art isn't offensive to your neighbors. Your pet vaccinations are up to date. You got smart toilets in your bathrooms. Things of that nature.
You know what's offensive to me, besides your hipster beard, Rally, is your man bun. So why don't you take your California Commie Collective and go fuck yourself